Africans who are still being held in bondage. So when you hear that the white man, General Gordon Granger, read Special Order Number 3, emancipating all Africans in Texas previously held in bondage, that only came after our ancestors had already took up arms and marched into Texas to free their brothers and sisters in bondage. That was 159 years ago, when black people still cared enough about other black people to risk their own lives for them. That's the history we come from. They didn't have to be related to us. We didn't have to know them. They didn't have to be our fraternity brother or our sorority sister. They didn't have to be in the Masonic lodge with us. They didn't have to come from the same church or the same masjid or the same temple. They didn't have to be black conscious or unconscious. They were black. And whenever black people got into trouble, other black people would rise up to help their federal brethren. We've lost a lot of that on the way. We become very tribalistic, brothers and sisters. Black people are the most tribalistic people in America. If you're not a Christian, I don't want to be bothered. If you're not a Muslim, I don't want to be bothered. If you're not a Hebrew, I don't want to be bothered. If you're not Nation of Islam, I don't want to be bothered. If you're not an Awapian, I don't want to be bothered. If you're not a Pan-Africanist or a black socialist, I don't want to be bothered. We got to go back to being for black people because we're black.
That's right. That's right.
God's original people.
That's right.
And brothers and sisters, we are the chosen ones.
That's right.
Being chosen has nothing to do with your religion. I know some of y'all don't like to hear that because you've been teaching people that you got to join a certain religion to be chosen. That is a lie.
That's right, man.
Being the first people on earth is what makes you chosen.
Go ahead.
If you African, if you got the DNA of the mother continent, you chosen. You just have to walk in righteousness, brothers and sisters. Your skin color, your melanin, that pigmentation on your body, that's your birthright.
Go ahead.
Your melanin is your birthright. It is the melanin in your skin, which is not a color, but an energy, brothers and sisters. It's not a color, it's an energy. And it is that energy of melanin that is in your skin that gives you ability to grow spiritually quicker and higher than any other people on the planet.
Go ahead.
This is why black people are so envied.
That's right.
We don't like our color, but everybody else knows that it is the color of the African that actually gives them that cosmic connection to divine consciousness.
Go ahead, brother.
Stop trying to bleach your skin. Stop trying to kill it. One day, black women, you're going to have to go back to being natural for the psychological health of your daughters. I know you don't want to hear it, but one day, black women are going to have to give it all up. The perm, the weave, the hair color, and I'm not picking on you, sisters. I love all black women. I'm not picking on my process sisters. But in the words of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the greatest black leader of the 20th century, the greatest human organizer of all time, Mr. Garvey said, don't take the kinks out your hair, take the kinks out your mind. And right now, we got a situation where black women are coming down with fibroid tumors.
Sure is, bro.
We got black women coming down with cerebral cancer of the skull because of weaves and because of perm juice. And you know, I was in Japan and China a couple times to speak. And you know what I learned when I was in Beijing? I learned in Beijing that the chemicals that the Asians sent over here for black women to relax their hair and the chemicals that they use to even make the wigs that black women wear are illegal to be sold to Asian women in their country. I learned this in China. They cannot sell it to the Chinese women, but you can float it to America and give it to the self-hating Africans. They'll find something to do with it. We got to give it on up. And I don't blame black women, brothers, for the hair being processed. I blame us. Because black women are trying to be attractive to black men.
Go ahead.
And when they study us, they can see and they can tell that we're only interested in women who have a European phenotype. And so they cook their hair for black men. They're not doing it for themselves, they're doing it for you. They're not wearing the wig for themselves, they're wearing it for you. They're not permanent hair coloring for themselves, they're doing it for us. Black men can make black women go natural overnight. All we had to do was tell our women we're not dating or marrying you unless you're natural. So you can choose the wig or you can choose a man. Which would you rather have? A husband or a dead baby? Which would you want? A sister would rather have a husband. And our daughters, for their sake, we gotta stop permanent weaving. Nothing is worse than when I walk into a preschool and I have to do my psychological evaluation on the early intervention children. So in America, the 3, 4, 5, and 6-year-olds, when it's time for them to go to kindergarten, after having received special ed service in preschool, a school psychologist, which is what I am, we have to go into the preschool and we got to test the babies. We got to test the 4 and 5-year-olds to see, number one, if they're ready for kindergarten. And number two, if they would need special ed service when they start kindergarten. And when I go into these preschools to evaluate our young sons and daughters, it hurts me to see the little girls already with their head permed at 5. Already with their head permed at 5 and at 4 years old, cooking a scalp, introducing them to cancer. Your self-hate is messing with your daughter's health. So we got to stop it. And I don't have to bring up the $30 billion that we spend on hair care and beauty products. You know how many schools we can build for black girls with $30 billion? You know how many after-school jobs for black girl teenagers we can do with $30 billion? See, as we talk about Juneteenth, brothers and sisters, and we reflect back on these past 159 years, we got to ask ourselves a big question. It's the most important question that can be asked at this day and time. On the eve of the 2024 presidential election, on the eve of so much that is about to go down in this world, we got to ask ourselves a question. After 159 years of emancipation, 159 years since Juneteenth, have we come as far as we should have?
No.
Have we come as far as our ancestors wanted for us?